Everyone, Berryman here, coalition builder and founder of Bringing Humanity Together. Welcome to Share and Care with Sandy Chernoff. I'm here with none other than the host herself, Sandy Chernoff. This is one of the three open forums under the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella where people can discuss topics related to the workplace and humanity in the workplace in a very positive and constructive way. We want to know what the issues that are out there that people are facing because it is our goal to both work with employers and employees to bring humanity back into the workforce. And as always, we'll always be going live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all at 3 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, except for Wednesday. We have a meet and greet from 2:45 to 3, and that's for Conversations for Humanity. So please feel free, I'm tongue-tied today. Feel free to invite your friends, family, coworkers, dogs, cats, you name it. Bring them all. We'd love to have them on board on the call. And please, if you're watching this on the replay, use the hashtag replay on your comments, whether it be on YouTube, Twitter, or on our Facebook business page. And as always, we have Share and Care with Sandy on Tuesday, Conversation for Humanity on Wednesday, and Humanity Happy Hour hosted by Carla Fedigan on Thursday. And like I said, as you are commenting, please feel free to let us know when you're watching from or watching on the replay from. And we would love to have an engaging conversation with you. So here is none other than the host herself, Sandy Chernoff. Sandy, how you doing today? And there is Carla, and there is Lisa. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
Oh, can't complain. Gonna have a little rain, but that's okay.
Yeah, got a big storm coming. It looks a little scary.
Oh,
Yeah,
a little.
Yeah, still hot here, but it's just so unusual for Vancouver to have this kind of weather. I mean, sometimes in July and August, we'll have a couple of days that are in the 30s. But I mean, this has been going on and on and on. It's just friggin' ended.
Week. It's
not long. It's been 10 days already, Carla. It's getting old already.
Oh, I bet. About 7 days ago, I'm sure it got really old.
They are predicting the possibility of some rain on Thursday, which means that if it does, I won't be able to golf because I was going to golf with my daughter. But I was also a little bit worried about the temperature because I did have a little heat stroke last week.
Ooh.
Yeah. I've never had that before, and I don't know why. But when I got up, I was dizzy and very unsteady on my feet. And then later I was throwing up, but the only thing that was in my stomach was water, so that's all I was throwing up. It was on Tuesday when I had to go for my biopsies. So, it was a good thing Yale took me and brought me home.
Yeah,
because I would not have wanted to drive in that state.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And my ENT guy phoned me yesterday, and he said, "You won't believe this. He wants another biopsy done on the left side because he said there's inflammation there and they're not sure what it is." He said the right side looks fine now, but he wants me to get another ultrasound and a bigger biopsy. They're going to use some huge needle. Who cares? So I phoned his office this morning and I said, "Okay, book that and let me know." So anyway, that's what we're moving forward on. He doesn't really think that it's anything to be totally worried about, but it's always better to be safe than sorry. So he said more information.
right.
So I mean,
And where is it?
It's right here.
On your neck. Okay, that's what I thought you said.
Yeah. He gave me 3 options. He said 1, you can do nothing. He said 2, you can get this bigger biopsy, or 3, you can have the whole, the whole organ out. And I said, yeah, well, I don't really want to do that because
Let's start with number 2.
Yeah,
Let's start with door number 2.
that's what I figured. So okay, that's what I think I'll do. He said, okay, you could think about it, and then you can phone my office and let my secretary know, and she can book it for you. I went, okay. So I phoned him this morning. I said, here's what Dr. Elkani offered, and here's what I'm going to go for. And she said, okay, I'll check with him and I'll get back to you. I said, okay. So that's what we're going to do right now. Okay, so what we're supposed to be talking about today is transformation. And I think as we have discussed before, you can't make people do things they don't want to do. And if someone doesn't realize they need to do a transformation, in other words, they need to learn how to do something differently or better or whatever, then they're not going to do it. If they do realize that they will have more success if they change how they communicate, or they change how they deal with conflict, or they change how they deal with their employees, then there's a greater chance that they're going to have more success, and that their employees are going to have a better chance of fulfilling their potential and all the things that are going to be beneficial not only to the employees but to the organization as a whole. But it's something that people need to recognize. Some people do, some people are good at it. But again, if they don't want to recognize it, or they don't recognize it, we can't make them. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. I mean, that one company where I had that very difficult boss, the HR manager wanted me to coach him. And I looked at her and I just laughed. I said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "He has absolutely no interest in being coached. He thinks he knows everything." So I said, "There's absolutely no point in trying to do that, because he doesn't want to do it." So I said, "We're better off just helping the managers to be more successful and leave him alone, because I might as well go over there and bang my head against the wall. He is not interested in changing his behavior." I mean, he talked the talk a lot, but he certainly didn't walk the walk. So, it just in his nature. I mean, he was a self-centered control freak, and there was just no way that he thought there was something wrong with him. If there was something wrong with everybody else. So, that just isn't going to help. The point is that it's a matter of, what do you do? And people who don't recognize that there's a problem, we can't help them. We really can't.
Right.
You can't help those that don't want to help themselves, but if you need to make some sort of a change, what do you do then?
Well, these people need to recognize that they need to make the change. I mean, that's why I always like working with HR. HR always knows everything about a company, because they deal with all the employees and everything. They always know everything. And she was very funny, because after we had the big discussion on what we should do to help the managers, and then she turns to me and she goes, "And you have to sell it to the boss." I went, "What?" She said, "Yeah, take it from me." And she said, "And remember, he's a self-centered, egotistical guy. So, there's just," I said, "Okay, I know what I'm going to do." So instead of me coming in and telling him what I knew, it certainly wasn't going to help our relationship at all. I came in and introduced myself and asked him what he thought the problems were. And he started to rant at me. So I stopped and I said, "Okay, so far you've said this. Here's what I can do about that." I stopped him 3 times. And then at the end, I said to him, "Well, what criteria do you use to select your managers?" And he said, "Well, they've been here a long time. So it's sort of a reward, longevity and loyalty." Well, sort of. And I said, "Okay, well, when you put them in that position, do you give them some training so that you know that they have the skills to be effective as a manager?" And he looks at me and he goes, "It's common sense." And I said, "Well, actually, I agree with you. I think it is based on common sense. But sadly, what I've found in my work is very few people have any common sense anymore. And they certainly don't have any emotional intelligence." And I said, "Your guys, your techie guys, are very smart. There's no question about that. But they're primarily left brain. So they don't really have the people skills to be an effective manager. And that's the reason why you have this long list of problems." So then he looks at me and he goes, "I want that proposal on my desk tomorrow morning." I said, "No problem. You'll have it. Thank you very much for your time. I know you're a busy man." And I went home and sent him the proposal, because, of course, I already had it, because HR and I had worked out everything. So the next morning she phoned me and she said, "Okay, he signed off on it." I said, "Good. You and I just have to schedule." I was there for 10 months. And I also had 3 managers who were off site. So I had to use GoToMeeting to bring them into the sessions that we had live. He came to session 1. He came to the December session, and the guys who were off site came into town and came for a live session. And the people were far less the managers were far less participatory with him in the room because they're all scared to death of him. She showed me some emails that he sent. And, you know, I've often said to people, yes, you're upset. You can write the email. Do not send it. Feel better that you've written it down and then delete it. But no, he sends it. So these emails were, you know, a lot of them all in caps. And, you know, it's just like he's screaming at you in an email. Sorry, you do not send those. I mean, be upset. Everybody's entitled to be upset. But you don't send the emails to people. It's just inappropriate. I didn't tell him that. You know, HR and I talked about it. But I'm sure he sent some nasty ones to the managers as well. But by the end, the guys were very happy that we had done this program because they really felt that they had gained some new insights and approaches and skills that would help them to manage their team more effectively. But in the end, the HR manager left, the CFO left, and 3 of the managers that I trained left because it was still a very poisonous environment because of how this guy treated people. It was just terrible. You know, it's so sad because he had a good business. Again, here's a guy with a good idea for a business, but he was the one that was shooting himself in the foot.
Yeah. How would you describe left brain people?
Left brain people are analytical, technical, scientific kind of people. They're smart, but they really don't have the experience in dealing with people. So usually their communication skills aren't very good, and, you know, managing conflict and, you know, all the kinds of things that you have to do when you're a manager. They certainly don't have good listening skills. So, you know, it just means that it's hard for them to be an effective manager because they don't have the skill set. But it doesn't mean they can't learn. They're smart. And if they realize that they need to pick up some of these skills to be more effective, and they want to, no problem. Absolutely no problem. And these guys realized that they had trouble because they'd gone to HR. That's why she knew what all the problems were. They wanted to fix this. They wanted to be better managers. Now, some companies, like big companies that have franchises and stuff, they generally have managerial training programs and they put people through them. But smaller organizations usually don't. And when you put someone in a managerial position, if you haven't given them some training to know that they need what to do, you set them up to fail. I mean, it's so unfair. It's unfair to them, and it's unfair to the team that they're going to be leading. I mean, it just, you know, to me, it doesn't make any sense. But very few smaller companies, and, you know, or medium-sized companies actually have managerial training programs, and it's too bad because people would do much better if they knew what to do.
Yeah.
Right. And if you have managers that are behaving poorly, say upper managers like a plant manager or that manages other managers, if they aren't being evaluated in a way where the people reporting to them are not doing the feedback, then you're not getting a true picture all the time. So for instance, I worked with a operations manager, and his people skills were lacking in a lot of ways, in that he was very good technically at his job, but stress was a hard thing for him. Anytime there was any stress involved, he didn't know how to handle stress. But if you talk to him about it, he would, oh no, I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue. So he never wanted to take accountability for that. And so we could really never do anything other than, like you were saying, Sandy, as working with the people that worked with him in trying to change in how they dealt with him, because he would not accept or own up to the fact that he had issues that he needed to work on. And so one, it wasn't being addressed by his manager. And so things never changed. So if we're trying to transform a company, those are things that have to happen. There has to be some accountability, or maybe like a 360-degree evaluation where the feedback is coming from everywhere to really understand what the issues are, so that again, one, the training can happen. However, if someone doesn't take accountability for the issues that they're having or own up to the fact that they're having these issues, there's never going to be a change. And so at that point, the company needs to look at, do we continue to keep this person here? And if they do, they have to understand that's going to affect any sort of transformation that can happen, because people no longer are going to do the right. They're going to always, when they have to deal with that manager, they're always going to be in a situation where they're, okay, I'm going to interact with this individual to work with my styles, but I'm going to do it in a way that is watching out for my job. So you're not necessarily going to get any sort of transformation with that individual there. So I think companies have to say, these are our values. These are the things that we will not accept, as far as we won't accept people behaving this way. Because if we don't, as companies, if the companies don't do that, there's always going to be a problem. And that, I think, therein lies the issue, because a lot of these people, and that's just one example, but a lot of these people are very good at their job technically or functionally, but they don't always have the people skills. And if the company doesn't hold them accountable to that, there will never be a change. And that's the problem you run into.
Absolutely. And it's a huge problem. It's huge. So, I mean, what you have to do, you have two choices. Either you sit the person down and say, listen, this is feedback we're getting from your team. And if you're not prepared to learn how to deal with this more effectively, we're going to have to let you go.
Exactly.
I mean, because that's really what happens. And then you've got to bring someone in who knows what to do, or you make sure that they know what to do by giving them some training before they get started, whatever. But it's a matter of, it won't help the company if people are totally adverse to change and will not learn any. And again, we talked about this before. Why don't you want to improve yourself? Why don't you want to keep learning and getting better? I just don't understand that. I've never understood it. I understand why people don't want to improve themselves, because your life will get a whole lot better. I told you about the manager who was in the Bank of Montreal, who had all these women for tellers, and he was offending them all the time. So they didn't feel comfortable confronting him. So they went to HR, and they said, of course. So HR called me and told me what the problem was. I said, basically, he's a really good manager. We don't want to fire him. And we called him in and told him that, these women, he was shocked. He had absolutely no idea that he was causing these problems. And he said, well, how do I fix it? And they said, well, we're going to get you a coach. So when I met him, I said, you're going to have to start doing something that's usually not very intuitive to a man. And he looked at me and he went, what? And I said, yeah, you're going to have to start paying attention to the nonverbal messaging these women are sending you. And he looks at me and goes, what does that mean? Said,
right.
You got to look at them, look at their face, look at the way they're standing. If they look uncomfortable, you got to stop right away and say, I am so sorry. What did I just do that made you so uncomfortable? Because I don't want to repeat it. And, we talked about some other strategies too. And when we were done, I said, well, how do you feel about this? He said, well, I'm keen to get back there and start trying this stuff out. I mean, he really wanted to fix it. I mean, that's 90% of the battle. So I said,
right.
Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to call you in 3 weeks. But if between then and now you run into a problem or you have a question, here's my card. You just give me a call. Well, he didn't phone me. So in 3 weeks, I phoned him. And I said, so how's it going? He said, you know what? The entire atmosphere in the bank has completely changed. I said, good for you. And then he said the funniest thing, Lisa, it even works at home.
No, that's great.
So,
I love that.
Here's the guy who wanted to fix it. And I said to him, I said, he was an East Indian man. And, that culture is very male oriented. So there was, it was quite obvious why he didn't notice these things. He wasn't brought up to notice those things. And he felt terrible. He really did, because he was a very nice fellow. And basically, as the HR people told me, he was a very good manager. They didn't want to get rid of him. So when they called him in, as I said, he was horrified. He was absolutely horrified that he was making these women upset, because he had no idea, absolutely not a clue, that he was doing things he shouldn't do. And that's because of his own background. So once we pointed out all these things and told him the stories that they had told, he was like, whoa, like he was completely shocked. But again, he wanted to fix it. He wanted the women to be comfortable. And so he made a concerted effort to follow all the things that I suggested to him. And so he fixed it. And good for him, because HR phoned me afterwards and said there have been no complaints. I mean, obviously he's really got a handle on this now. I said, well, he wanted to, and you knew that. He said, yes, we did. That's the reason why they were willing to make the investment in trying to help him. And he certainly proved them right. And he was happy, and the tellers were happy, and obviously his wife was happy.
That's good. And those are the people that you want to work, that you like to work with, because those are the ones that want to change. It's the ones that won't accept. Those are the difficult ones. And those individuals can stop a company from transforming. And it can be difficult, make it very difficult. And so, yeah, no, I like that.
The other experience I had was with Fraser Health here. And also HR called me, and they had a manager who was part of their accounting department. And he was phoning patients and yelling at them for not paying their bills. And of course, the people he was yelling at were people who were sick with cancer, or had members of their family who were sick with cancer, all this kind of stuff. So I listened to all of this, and I said to him, well, can I talk to this fellow? So they said, sure. So they sent him in, and he came in and he started ranting at me. They're picking on me, and these people need to pay their bills. And what's wrong with them? And he was going on and on and on. And I don't need training. I know how to talk to people. I've had training before, Yeah, this is how we do it, Chris. So I said, okay, well, thank you very much. You can go back to your desk now. So the people came in, and I said, don't hire me. And they said, what? I said, this guy has absolutely no interest whatsoever in changing his behavior. So you have two choices. A, fire him on the spot. Or B, if you can keep him in the accounting department and he never, ever, ever gets to talk to a patient again, then you can keep him. But otherwise, I would fire him, because he has no interest whatsoever in changing his behavior, and he will continue to upset patients. So, it's not my decision, but I certainly wouldn't hire me, because he's not going to go anywhere with this. I might as well go over there and bang my head against the wall.
What did they do?
What did they do? They fired him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because they felt that he would still call for paying. So, which was probably the right decision. But, again, you can't make people do things that they don't want to do. And he had no interest in changing his behavior. Let's see who this is.
Right.
Okay, I'm just going to tell this guy I can't talk to him. Hi, Michael, I'm on a call. I can't talk right now. Bye. So, it's just a matter of who are you dealing with? And, I do what I do because I enjoy it. That would not be enjoyable. It would just been ugly. Really
right.
Plus, I would have been frustrated because he wasn't going to do anything that I was going to try and show him. Whereas the other guy was just a pleasure to work with. He was just so keen to learn what to do. So, when you're dealing with people who realize that they can improve things if they learn some new things, then those are the kind of people you want to deal with. That's good. That's inspiring. That makes you feel good because you've really helped the person. So it's just a matter of, again, with businesses and employees, if they come to us with a problem, we need to have a conversation with them and find out very specifically what they're looking for. And once we get that information, we need to sit down and do a lot of listening and make notes and then give them feedback. Okay, so far you said this. Is that correct? Okay, so here's what we can do about that. We can do this, we can do this, we can do this. So I will send you some of those elements and you can look at them and then you can decide which pieces you think are going to be most beneficial to your employees. And once you decide that, we will put together a program And we will also provide you with a fully documented syllabus so that they have a takeaway from the program. And
Right.
that way, you're going to give them what they want, and they get to choose. And it's usually HR, so they know what to choose. But it's just making sure that we're going to give them specifically what they're looking for. So we need to know specifically what their problem is. Because, for example, when I do stress management, and people will send me an email, we need a stress management workshop. Well, I have a stress management workshop, but it depends what's causing them stress. Is it a manager? Is it a communication issue? Is it, another colleague that does weird stuff or whatever? Like, what is causing them stress? So we need to know that. We need a stress management workshop. Well, I have a stress management.
Well, hello, Caesar.
Causing them stress. Is it a manager?
Right.
So, if we can find out what they need, then we can certainly put together a program that will address those needs. And if we do that, they will be happy because, again, like I often say to HR, I'm very sorry I have to put you to work. And they go, what? And I said, well, now I'm going to be providing your people with some new strategies and approaches and skills. But I want them to know why they're learning it. So you need to give me the situations that they have struggled with. And I will into the PowerPoint slide. But after I've taught them some new strategies, I will bring hard copies. We will have them number off into groups, and each group will get a hard copy scenario that they're familiar with. And now they will see why they're learning these new things and why it would be a good idea to start using them. Because I can make stuff up, but if it doesn't resonate and it doesn't make sense, then it doesn't help. But I've had people come up to me, Lisa, after a session and go, how did you know that? I said, well, your manager told me. Because then it makes sense for them. Then they understand why they are learning these things and why it would be a good idea, because they're going to get better outcomes if they start using these approaches.
Right.
So I like to have the specific scenarios that they've struggled with, things that haven't been successful for them. And if we put those into the program, then they will understand why they are learning these things and why they should start using it. And usually they do. I mean, these people aren't stupid. So when they see that there's an advantage to using different approaches, they'll do it. Why not? I mean, why wouldn't you? So it's just a matter of getting the help from the HR person, because they're really usually the ones who know it all. And I really like working with HR. I've told you before, I call them firefighters because they have so much on their plate. They know the employees, they know the upper, the leadership, and they know what's going on in the company because everybody comes to them. That's why I call them firefighters. They're always putting out fires. But that's why they know everything that's going on. So they also are usually the ones that seek out a facilitator to come in and help with something. So whether it's coaching an individual or whether it's dealing with a team that needs some help, it doesn't matter, that they know when something needs to be done. And they could probably do it, but they don't have time. They just put together the program and that kind of thing. So it's a matter of understanding that if we're going to have transformations in an organization, we have to be working with people who are interested in solving the problem, who are interested in making some changes. Because if we do, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yep.
If we don't, you might as well go over there and bang your head against the wall because nothing's going to happen. So it's a waste of our time and it's a waste of their money. And I don't want to do that to people. That's why I told Fraser Health not to hire me. I mean, they were shocked. They were, what? And I said, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to help this guy. He doesn't want to be helped. So it would be a waste of your money and a very frustrating waste of my time. So they laughed at me that I was so honest. I said, I'm sorry. I do this because I enjoy it. This would not be enjoyable.
Right. Here's my great friend Caesar from Clubhouse. Caesar, how are you doing today, sir?
Hi, Caesar.
Hey, Caesar.
Good to have you.
Good to see you. Great to be here.
We were actually talking about transformation before we jumped on the call. So, Caesar, I would like for you to pick up of what the conversation me and you had on Clubhouse, and the floor is yours.
Well, I'm listening to you guys talk about everything, and I think we have it in our hands, but a lot of people don't want to progress that way. I think there's a lot of selfish people, and they're very destructive. And to be honest, I think they know exactly what they're doing, and they're. I don't think it's a matter of finding solutions. They're just like pushing things under the rug. They're trying to hide it, and it's it's so bad that it's good, you know. And I told Chris today I felt empowered because every single time that I've tried to give my all, I found myself in a place where I had to leave. I
You have
had
to
to
what?
and start my own business and excel. But I've also been very upset because there's a lot of people that don't land on their feet. There's a lot of people that are depressed, anxious, having problems at home, and these type of things destroys them completely. And I really believe that upper management does not know exactly what's going on. And when you even push it to human resources, they listen, but if it's too hard for them to handle, they will push you out. And it's very sad. Unfortunately, it's sad. I see it every single day. You know, every single business I worked with has done the same thing, and I'm a fighter. You know, I'm always gonna grow from it. But what about the people that don't? What about the people that are completely discouraged and turned away from something they love to do? And that's really
Right.
sad. And I've always thought about it. You know, is do I want to speak up because I want to? I guess um, I don't want to call it revenge because it's not revenge. I grew up already a long time ago, but let me tell you, I left my previous company, and at least 2 or 3 times a week, I feel horrible. And when I start thinking about why I feel horrible, it's because I felt rejected. I felt that what I had to offer was not valuable. And I know for sure what I did offer and give is extremely valuable. And the company would have done a lot better with me there. I know they would have helped me grow, and the company would have grown as well. But just because of a couple of selfish individuals, it's to a point where, you know, I've studied it before. It's called group evil. You know, they're just, it is what it is. They're just, you know, everybody eats, so everybody's like, ah, you know what? It's not a big deal, and it is a big deal because there's a lot of people that are still in there in that environment that are, you know, trying to fight to get better, to feel better, and they just can't. It's like a toxic relationship they just can't get away from, and it's really sad. It really is.
It's awful.
Yeah, yeah, I think toxic individuals can really create a toxic situation within a company, and we were kind of talking about that when you have people behaving poorly with bad behaviors, and those individuals are not held accountable for those actions. It can create a lot of toxicity in the organization or in the facility that they work in, and it can create a lot of issues. So for sure, it's something that companies need to take a better look at and get more involved in. Like Sandy was talking about transformation, you know, the individual has to want to change or they're not going to change. Or the companies, as I mentioned, the companies are going to have to hold those individuals accountable, either discipline or fire them if they're not willing to change.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the owners of UFC, you know, several times speak to me because they saw my social media and they saw how I turned classes at 3 or 4 people into 30 people, and how I was inspiring so many people, how I was doing fundraisers, you know, in Thanksgiving and in Christmas, and I really brought life to the gym. And they asked me, they're like, Caesar, you know, what would you do to make this place better? Because I see you have a lot of experience. And you know, my honest answer was, you don't want to hear what I have to say. And they're like, what do you have to say? And I said, well, to be honest, you have to fire everybody because the system you have in here is not okay.
Right.
And they were interested in knowing, but at the same time, it was kind of like I really don't want to know because I'm just satisfied with what's going on here, and I'm opening up 9 different gyms anyway, so it's not a big deal. But I'm sure, like if I was to be persistent and say what's on my mind, you know, things would change. And I think it takes people to just stand up and really go for it. because it's not okay. We can all sit here and say it is okay, but it's not. What about those people? We don't know how many people kill themselves, suicide and depression and have divorces and fights with their kids because of jobs, how they get pushed down. It's not okay. Not everybody has the luxury to have a business coach or have a therapist like I have to help me survive these horrible things, because I am strong, but sometimes I need to be refreshed.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, and some
it's
people
not
are
okay.
just better at handling those things, stress
Yeah,
and things like that knock you down, because life at times knocks you down a little bit. And some people get right back up. Other people, it takes them a little bit more effort, or they can't, or have a
yeah,
harder time doing it. So you're right, it's not okay. And it does take us all to stand up, everyone to stand up and say, we're not gonna live this way. Right.
yeah, absolutely.
And the more we all stand up, the more companies will take note of it and start making changes.
Yeah, and let me tell you, like, one of the reasons that I spoke out was because on my way out already, they sent me a link and they said, Caesar, you need to watch this video and take the test. And I said, what is it? And they're like, it's I think it was called a harassment course or something like
Mm,
that for human resources. And when I watched this, it's supposed to take me 2 hours. It took me 5 hours to see it because I had to stop it several times. And I'm like, wait a minute, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing that. So what they're telling me is that I should speak up about this because what they're doing is absolutely wrong. And
mhm.
it felt so wrong. And I didn't speak up about it till after I left. And when I did, the human resource guy was like, he didn't even know what to tell me. He was like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Is more people that are willing to talk?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely, there probably is. But what are you guys gonna do about it? Because I'm okay. I left this UFC, and now I have 3 gyms. But what about the people that are there, like after pandemic, and they depend on this job, and you're asking them to work for free and do this and do more, and you're beating them up. You're making them feel worthless. They're not gonna speak up." And they promised me a call back, and it's been 4 months. I'm still waiting for it. I've called them back. They don't answer the phone. They don't have any phone numbers for you to call. And if you call any of the gyms, they tell you that you have to email. So it's a dead end street, and it really sucks. And the problem is that I see that upper management does not know what's going on, and other clubs do not know what's going on because they all follow me and they love me. They're always motivating and, oh, Caesar, we wish you can come back and this and that, but they really don't know what's going on, and it's very sad. It really is.
Yeah, and a lot of people are afraid to speak up, especially when
Yeah,
they're in the job, because they don't want to lose their job. But
absolutely.
it only makes more problem because they continue to be in an environment that's not healthy
Yeah,
for them. So it is difficult, especially like Sandy and I were kind of talking about when you have that manager that's got bad behaviors, and he's a manager, so not a lot of people want to say anything against him, about him, and so they continue to do these things, and it
yeah,
just continues to create problems. And upper management, people above them, don't want to see him go because he's good functionally, he's doing his job functionally.
yeah,
And he'll lie and say, oh, I didn't do that, or no, that's not me. And
Any food
you
guy.
know, so the upper management isn't necessarily paying attention because they're believing this individual and not believing the people that have spoke out or
yeah,
spoke up. And they continue to do that. And sometimes HR's hands are tied just as much,
yeah,
if they don't have the support of their managers or the managers. It makes it very difficult.
yeah, yeah,
So the more people bring it up and start talking about it, I think the more and more they'll start listening. Even if they hadn't initially listened to one person, over time they start hearing the same things over and over. They may listen. So
yeah,
if you have relationships with people within the company, encourage them to speak up if they can.
yeah.
I know
And
it's not always easy.
no, I mean, for me, it's easy, but it's just a matter of I'm in a place where I've always given, and try to help so many people out. And right now I'm in a process where I'm just trying to help myself out. I've never done this before, so it's I don't know. It seems like a lot of work, but maybe it's not. Like I did notice, like, to give you an example, during Thanksgiving, I donated my time. I said, listen, guys, whoever wants to donate cans or a gift card, to buy groceries for people that can't afford it, I'll train you guys for free. Every Saturday, I'm open from 9 to 10 to do a class, and if you want a one-on-one, no worries, I got you. The company had a fit. You can't give away time for free. I'm like, but you're asking us to work for free, so I don't get it. And it's generating more people, and it was to a point that I was disgusted. The managers were looking at me like I was stealing. Like, the managers would actually call me upset. They're like, "Hey, Caesar, you need to come down here and get all these cans. It's a mess over here." I'm like, they're for charity. Like, what do you want me to do? And then it was hilarious to see that, what's this guy's name? A-Rod, the baseball player, the one that's married
Alex
to
Rodriguez, yes.
yeah. So I see in Thanksgiving they're doing a fundraiser, and all the managers are there saying, "Oh my God, this is awesome!" And I'm like, "Wait a minute, I just did this for the club. I collected over 500 cans. I give away my time, and none of it is seen. And you're like pushing me down, but there you are with this man doing this, and I'm like, wow." So everybody was saying, "You should call him right now," and I'm like, "Nah, I don't want to do that." I'm not about that. This is my. I think this is my
Purpose,
I guess
your
my
calling.
purpose, and I just gotta keep doing it. And maybe that's not the place for me, and it opened up other doors. But I do want to speak out for the people that are stuck, because there's a lot of people that are stuck, and it's not okay. The company could be making so much more, 2 or 3 times more than they're doing right now, if they would just really take care of their people. Because it's not about them, it's about everybody else. It's about a team. When I've owned my own gym, I even told everybody that I took under me, I said, "Hey, listen, I need you to be better than me. I'm going to sit here and be better for you so you can be better." And that's the way to roll with it. Not take everything from me. Like, all the managers in my gym had more clients than all the trainers put together. How does that make sense? It doesn't make any sense. But as long as the numbers are okay, nobody knows what's going on in the gym. And that's not okay.
Right.
Carla,
Well, now you
your
have an
thought?
opportunity to take your business where you want to, and believe the values and live your values, and it's only going to make you feel better, and it's going to help the world in a bigger way.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely. But then somewhere in there, something calls out to me and says, "Caesar, you left everybody behind. Help them." And I'm like, I'm not sure.
Hey, they have 2 feet.
Exactly.
They can figure out how to make it work. I mean, I always told my husband, if I had to and I needed the money and I lost my job, I would go work 2 jobs somewhere if I needed to replace that, So sorry for the dogs. There's always, I'm in Atlanta. There's hiring signs all over the place.
Yeah.
There's nothing below, a job is a job,
Yeah. I just think there's a lot of tactics that they do on you. They make you feel like part of a family, and they use you because you want to feel accepted. You want to feel like you're valued, like I'm a part of a team. And it's like manipulations. A lot of the business coaches that I've had to fire, they use these tactics, and I'm like, that's not for me. I'm not gonna sit here and make people feel like that. And the books that they would make me read I was like disgusted by them. I was like, I'm not that person. I'm not gonna do that. Oh, but this is what
was it you were doing, Caesar?
I'm a personal trainer.
Personal trainer, okay.
Strength and conditioning, nutrition, boxing, kickboxing, all those things.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There's a lot to be said in doing things without getting recognition for it. You do it out of goodness and the goodness of your heart, and not like they say in the Bible, do it even though nobody's watching. It doesn't matter. And when I see companies going out there and doing all this PR stuff and hobnobbing people, yet they turn around and treat their employees like dirt, that says a lot. They're all about the visual, not about truly helping people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I gotta go check on on our house guest. I'll be right back.
All right.
Ugh.
But like I was having that conversation with Caesar, I just truly believe that we can create that environment and show that to organizations. Because once you really value people for who they are and what they stand for and what they're about, it goes to their mission, their passion, their purpose. If it's all in alignment with an organization's mission and purpose, you can get so much more out of it because if you create that environment, that transformation can occur and it can be done in a great human and healthy way, people going to resonate with that. They say, I'm in it for Caesar. I'm in it for Lisa. I'm in it for Sandy. I'm in it for Carla. And no, it's not coming about for Chris at all. I really don't care about Chris. I care about each and every single one of you because if I value you for who you truly are and what you stand for, not only will I go to bat for you, you will go to bat for me. And you can't put a price on that. You can't, it's just like we tell every people every day. We can't put a price on life. Get it. I understand that. That is true. But you can't really even put a price on someone's value and what they're worth. And if you try to put a price on that, to me, like I said with Caesar, to almost to a certain extent, you're basically disenfranchising people because they're trying to attribute that very money to what they think they're worth. They're worth 10 times as much, if not more.
Well, people need to start standing up for knowing what their worth is and putting their foot down. The nurses are great, are prime example of that. They feel I left healthcare in September of 2019, thank God. But there's nurses out there that will feel bad because a hospital needs extra shifts covered. And it's like, why don't you go pay an agency more? And then, well, we don't want to pay an agency. Can you do it? And they make them feel guilty. And then they do it. And who suffers? Their own health suffers and their family suffers. And they need to say, whose problem is that? And say, hey, there's nurses I know that have given up different, hey, I was going to go do this, that, or the other on my few days off that I had, and now I'm doing extra shifts. And I'm like, why? Well, they said they needed somebody. I said, they're playing on your generosity.
Yeah.
Whose problem is that? It's not your problem. It's okay to say, hey, I'm really sorry, but I'm not able to help you out. I already have plans.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to tell them what your plans are. You just tell them, I'm sorry, I can't help you out. Maybe another time. That doesn't lock you in for another time. But you know what? There's a life outside of work.
Yes.
If you don't do that, if you don't have a life outside of work, you're going to suffer, and eventually your work suffers, or whatever it could be. So it's a trickle down effect. And the same can be said for like what Chris was saying. If you treat people right, if you value them, if you treat people for who they are, that's a trickle down effect too, but in a good way.
Yes.
Well, I like what Caesar was saying about how he wants the people under him to do even better than he does. And
exactly.
It's like that in what I do. I want people to be better than what I am.
Yep.
I want them to have that opportunity to be better than what I am. I have a certain potential for growth, and I want them to exceed me.
Yes.
Right.
When was the last time you could earn more than your boss in a traditional job?
And see, I want that for every single person who's going to be a part of this, whether it be in our community, whether it be in the organization, or with the very organizations we'll be working with, whether it be that one individual or that whole company. I want that to be so innate to them that they know it. That they say, this company is not about the money. They're about the value that we're being bestowed upon to such an extent they feel it in their bones. They go to their, it's like with you, Sandy, when you had that thing that you did with that one guy who was at the bank. And he said, well, you know what? He even works at home too. I mean, that's what I want to have to show people. And you guys are all here because you see not only the need, but you see the path. And I've seen it so long ago. That's why I said, Sandy, I want you to be a part of this. Carla, I want you to be a part of this. Lisa, I want you to be a part of this. Caesar, I want you to be a part of this. Because we can be that coalition of humanity that's going to go far and wide and say, this is what we aim to do, and this is what we're going to do. We're not just going to talk anymore. We're going to take that stand for humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what gets me fired up. I
When
believe
you, when you invest in the people first, the rest is going to come along. When the people are thriving, the company is thriving.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what happened in the dental office, when it was my dad's practice, and he was very supportive of all of us and encouraged everybody and, all those kinds of things. And then unfortunately, after he died, and these two young guys bought the practice. And I told you, one of them was just this horrible, horrible guy. And the first staff meeting we had, you'll like this, Caesar. We're sitting in the waiting room, and he says, "Okay, I want you to picture every new patient who comes through that door carrying 2 suitcases full of cash." And, yeah. Yeah. And the other hygienist who was sitting beside me turned to me and she went, "I'm out of here." Because that's certainly not pictured patients, because we just didn't. And he was horrible. He was mean to his receptionist, had her in tears every day, sometimes twice a day. He turned over his assistant about every 3 months. And, he blamed it on the assistant. I'm sorry. It wasn't her fault. He was horrible to her. And patients wanted to know what was going on because the whole atmosphere in the office changed. I had patients phoning me at home, "What's going on?" And I couldn't really say much. And finally, and my brother left, and he kept phoning me, "Why are you there? You're helping them. Why are you staying there?" So finally, I left. And he looked at me and he said, "You can't do that." I said, "Watch me." And I walked out the door because he came and yelled at me one day for absolutely no reason. And of course, the patient's lying in the chair, looking like this.
Like, what the heck is going on?
It kept going on, exactly, Carla. And I told him to go away and to stop it. And so when I was finished with the patient, he said, "You can't talk to me like that. I'm your boss. You have to respect me." I said, "Well, here's something about respect. Respect is something that's earned. And that kind of behavior is never going to earn you my respect. I've been practicing dental hygiene longer than you've been alive. And I know better than you do. To me like that in front of the patients only upsets the patients. And what you're going to start doing is losing patients. And that's what started happening because my brother left and went and practiced somewhere else. And the patients kept phoning the office to find out where Dave was. And so these two guys wanted to sue my brother for taking away the practice that they bought. And the lawyer they said, "You have no case. You cannot make these people stay with you if they don't want to.
Yeah.
You're making them feel welcome and comfortable and appreciated and so on. And of course they're going to leave and go back to the dentist that they were comfortable with for 25 years. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense."
Yeah, right.
I felt very badly about leaving because I had been connected to these people for over 40 years. I was into the generation, dealing with grandchildren and stuff. But it just wasn't worth it. I was just having a terrible time. He was so awful. And he was awful to all of us. He just didn't appreciate any of us. And he lied to us. That was another thing that he did that I just couldn't tolerate. And so, I literally just walked away because I actually went to the college and they said, "Well, you could write a letter, but of course he'll then see the letter. And then, because they have to show it to him, so he'll know where it came from. And then he'll probably pick on you even more." I said, "Right, I'm not writing a letter. I'm just going to leave." They said, "Yeah, that's probably a good idea."
Right.
So, it's just a matter of, you got to take care of yourself, Caesar. And if you don't,
I am.
nobody's going to take care of you. And when you're working for somebody who's horrible, and this guy was absolutely horrible, he finally left the practice and he went and worked. My brother phoned me. He says, "You won't believe this. Patrick left. He's gone and worked with one of my classmates." I said, "Where's your classmate?" "Oh, out in Tawasin." That's a suburb out in southern Vancouver. And I said, "Well, why are you laughing?" He said, "Because he's got an anger management problem. Maybe they'll kill each other."
Well, Caesar, we're just so thankful and honored that you can join us today. I would love for you to be a part of this. So please reach out to Carla myself, Lisa, and Sandy, we would like to talk more with you about this, and we would like for you to have to be on board. So I will just ask each and every single one of you before we wrap up this call, what would be the call to action, Sandy?
Well, I think what we have to realize, Chris, again, is if somebody wants to transform themselves and their company, then we can certainly help them. But if they don't want to, again, you might as well go over there and bang your head against the wall, because you're not going to be able to help them. People need to want to change. They need to want to solve the problem. And if they don't even recognize that there's a problem, there's nothing we can do. And that's why you can't push market this stuff. Either people know they have a problem and they're going to seek a solution by Googling their problem, or they don't care. And we can't make people care about something that's ruining their company if they can't see it. Right. So just like, that tech guy that I told you about, I mean, he was the one that was wrecking his company, the boss, and that's why he lost really good people. And his HR manager was a lovely woman. And 3 of the managers who left were lovely guys. And his CFO, his financial guy, was a terrific guy. He was lucky to have him. They all left because they just couldn't stand it anymore. He just refused to change, and he was horrible. And so he created a very poisonous work environment. Not fun to work in that. I mean, why do you want to work and be uncomfortable all day and anxious? And it's horrible. I mean, Dad ran the practice. We had fun. I mean, we literally had fun in the dental office. I know that might sound strange to people, but we actually did, and it helped to relax the patients because the whole staff was relaxed and having fun, and that made the patients more comfortable, and they were laughing too. So it's just a matter of what sort of atmosphere are you creating, and if you're not creating an atmosphere that's conducive to good work and people feeling comfortable and appreciated and valued, what the heck are you doing? Like it doesn't make any sense. My dad really appreciated everybody, and everybody knew that because he told them and he did stuff. I told you, he took the whole office at least once a year away from continuing education course somewhere far away. Like he took us to Seattle, or he took us to Portland, or he took us to Prince George. I mean, we went to different places, and he picked up the bill. And he always took us out for dinner at least once or twice a year. And sometimes one time we went whitewater rafting, and another time we had a baseball game, and then we went out for dinner. He did things to thank the staff. And so the staff felt appreciated and valued. And if you do that, you're not going to lose staff. I mean, he had staff. I told you, his receptionist started with him when she was about 19. She worked with my father for like 35 years. It wasn't until Liz decided to stop doing it that she quit. But, she felt very appreciated, and we all loved her. She was amazing. So, it's just a matter of what are you doing? Life is too short, and most adults spend most of their life working. So if you hate your job, that means you hate your life. I'm sorry. It's not good.
Full stop on that one.
Yeah, exactly, Carla. I mean,
if you hate your job, you hate your life. Somebody quote that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a pillow out of that.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that for a quote tile on my social media.
All right. Quick call to action, Carla and Lisa and Caesar, because we got to get going.
So I would say, and I'm going to put it on a broad range to everybody. If you are heading your job and heading your life, and there's something going on at work, and you don't feel like you have any control over it, and you've gone to your manager, go to HR. Because the more that it's out there and identified, the more chance you have in having something done about it. And if it's not fulfilling your day, it's time to look for something else.
Mhm.
Lisa?
Take a stand for humanity.
Yes. Caesar?
Leave everybody better than you found them. And that advice goes for yourself. I've been giving out beautiful advice, but never taking it for myself.
There you go.
You can try all you want, but if it's not where you need to be, then you need to say thank you because they're pushing you to a better place. That's it.
All righty. Thank you guys for
All right.
another great and engaging conversation. We'll see your conversation for humanity tomorrow.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.